Hello, you're listening to the Chinese Chat Poetry Talk podcast. 中文热聊之诗歌漫谈 I'm the host, Li Bai. Welcome to my channel to read Chinese classic poetry, learn and practice Mandarin. On this program, we invite Shenzhan Liao from China Institute, New York, to read and discuss Chinese classic poetry. Welcome, Shenzhan.
My name is 申展廖。今天我们要读的《黄鹤楼送孟浩然之广陵》by the great poet in Tang Dynasty, Li Bai. So for language students, 之 here is go to. It's an action word. It's a verb. This is just such a beautiful poem by the great poet Li Bai that what we can really relate to the season, the friendship, and many other things. This poem, written in 730, when Li Bai was at his 20th, and Meng Hao-jan at his early 40th, is the proof that Li Bai and Meng Hao-jan were friends, or at least it appears to be so in this poem, as it's a poem that written by Li Bai for Meng Hao-jan when Meng Hao-jan was on his way to Yang-chou. Yang-chou is the current day name for the city of Guangling. And we know that Meng Hao-jan at his early 40s at the time was already famous and admired by many poets at his time, and Li Bai being one of them. I want to talk a little bit about Huanghelou. Huanghelou is a real place, a towering building with beautiful architecture overlooking the Yangtze River. In Chinese, Yangtze River is Changjiang, the long river. It's sitting in the city of Wuhan. I also want to mention about this building also made Wuhan, the city, famous in Chinese culture because its history, its connection to Chinese literary tradition, and many other cultural traditions. Huanghelou was first built in 223. It was burned down many times. We won't know exactly what Huanghelou looked like when Li Bai was there, which floor he will be sitting with Meng Hao-jan for the farewell, if they were together, what kind of drinks they were enjoying at the time. But we know, this is one of the most beloved pavilions in China's literary history, as it appears in many poems, possibly because it was in a strategically important location for people taking the boat along the Yangtze River to move from one point to another, from one city to another, which was the fastest and most popular means of transportation at the time. The Yellow Crane Pavilion, in fact, is an important place for Taoism, as one of its main figures, Lu Dongbing, became immortal here, right on the spot, as the legend says. Thus, to the Chinese, the name Huanghelou, Yellow Crane Pavilion, lands in layers of meanings. Just by hearing the name, it connected to history and culture, literary tradition, as well as Taoist connotation. Here, the word Huang, as the color here, yellow, is not descriptive of the crane. Huang is the color of the earth. Also, the color reserved for the emperor only in the imperial tradition. The name Huanghelou adds to the grandeur, the importance, and its standing between Tian and Di, the heaven and the earth. So we know that every single word in the name itself and also in the poem itself carries a lot of layers of meanings. So I will read the entire poem and then we will go into word by word, line by line. 黄鹤楼送孟浩然之广陵。故人西辞黄鹤楼，烟花三月下扬州。孤帆远影碧空尽，唯见长江天际流。 a heptasyllabic quatrain. 7 characters per line, 4 lines, the entire poem. Let's go into each line, word by word. I will do twice. The first time, I will pause after each character. You can repeat. So for the first time, 故人西辞黄鹤楼. Now the second time I will do the entire line and pause. 故人西辞黄鹤楼，烟花三月下，扬州烟花三月下扬州，烟花三月 in the lunar month of March. Really, it would be more like April. The cities like Wuhan and Yang-chou along the Yangtze River immersed in the mist, the haze of flowers and trees. But I also want to point out just the musical part of these lines using the first 4 characters and as an example. 故, it's like falling tone. 人, rising. 西, high up there. 辞, so 故人西辞, you start from a low tone and then going up high. 故人西辞, so it's sort of like 故人西辞. And then verses 烟花三, all of them are high tones. Up, when you read it aloud, it's high pitch up there. 月, falling down. So this is an example of the musical part that in classical Chinese poetry, the rhyme, the tones are, especially in the pairs, they're speaking to each other. They form this cycle that musical to the ear. 故人西辞烟花三月, the opposite composition of the notes that would make not only when you understand the meaning that you feel the harmony of the picture, but also the sound itself. 孤帆远影碧空尽，孤帆远影碧空尽，唯见长江天际流，唯见长江天际流。So that's the entire poem.
Thanks for your listening. I'm Li Bai. 我是李白。See you next time. 我们下次见。